Hey everyone, welcome to the Garage Grit Live seventh episode. And this is actually going to be part one of three live stream series, breaking down the last podcast, which dropped this past Tuesday. Um, Wait a minute. That's today. That's today. So it's now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. From interviews to integration, building strong teams in auto repair. Whether you're watching live on this stream or catching this replay, thanks for being here. If you're tuning in live, drop a comment and let us know your shop name, where you're watching from. These live streams are meant to be interactive. But even still, if you're getting to it after the fact, that's perfectly fine. I love your engagement, but I want your input as you're listening. Please add it. So now the newest podcast that just dropped, you can Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. I recommend you listen to it in full, as always. But here in this group, we're going to break it down even further over the next few weeks. One key area. Give me one moment, please. Okay. Back to this now. All right. We're going to break it down. Again, we're going to break it down one area at a time over the next few weeks. And again, I'm very interested in your input. Continue the conversation. That's the goal of this group. Was something said during the podcast or during this live stream that we brought up that kind of got you thinking that you want to add to, be inspired, be bold? I'd love to hear from you. But full transparency, I'm not a shop coach. I'm a shop marketer. I run AA Shop Marketing with my business partner, and everything that we do here on this Garage Grit project, including this podcast, to the content in this group, it's about one thing. It's about helping as many shop owners as possible to grow stronger shops, to grow stronger businesses. And that's the mission behind the Garage Grit podcast. And yeah, it happens to align up with the mission of AA Shop Marketing too. So AA Shop Marketing exists to help repair shops win, whether that means more cars in bays or more online visibility or just having a more clear plan. So if you're watching this and wondering what to do next with your marketing, I'm also happy to help. I'm not here to push proposals unless you really want one. I'm not here to send you a 50-page report that is just kind of mind-numbing unless you actually want one. But what I will do, what I'm very interested in doing, is running a few different reports and then helping you figure out what your next best step is, something that you can act on yourself with or without me. Because the point of this exercise isn't to sell you something, it's to move you forward. And if that sounds helpful, drop a comment, DM me, or head to aashopmarketing.com and we'll talk. But let's now dig back into the podcast again that dropped this morning. And the focus is about hiring. And this week's live stream is even more so about hiring, what to watch out for before you hire somebody. And the three shop owners that I sat down with in this episode was Jen from Superior Auto in Easton, PA, Mark from Gages Lake Auto Repair in Gages Lake and Lake Villa, Illinois, and Chris from Community Auto in Fort Collins, Colorado. And later today, I'm going to be doing another recording with Chris, and I'm hopeful that once that gets published, you'll be able to check it out and see what you have to think about it. It's a brand new series that we're starting called the Origin and Impact series. It's going to be lumped in with the same podcast that you already know and love, but we're going to kind of mix it in. You'll be able to listen to inspired stories of your colleagues, whether you know them or not. And so we're trying to move your shop forward by you listening in. So but they also shared some real stories on this episode and hard-earned wisdom about building a strong team. And it all starts with avoiding the wrong hire before they actually get into one of your bays. So today we're going to be talking about the red flags, and I want to hear your take too. There's probably some ridiculously fun stories, and some of them were mentioned in the podcast, but I also want to hear more of yours. Let's talk about this real stuff, the signs that we ignore out of desperation. If you are massively short-staffed, I don't recommend just putting a body in the bay. Get the right fit. In this episode, Jen brought up a few times on how sometimes people will check every box. It looks good. They seem right, but they still end up being a nightmare in the shop. And how she relies on her gut, and she's recommending to you to listen to your gut on how you feel about that particular hire. Are they a fit? Are they going to do a good job? Do they actually know what they're talking about? Um, and we also commented about how Jen's gut is not duplicatable. So this is something that you will actually continue to get better at with as you go on and do it. You might be already great at it, but you're going to continue to get better the more often you do it. Right? That's just the reality of life a lot of times. But speaking of them checking all the boxes, that leads me to another point where you have people talking about how they know it all, right? So, but anyway, Mark also talked about how applicants will go through the motions, even submit a resume, show up once, and then they ghost you. And that drives me up a wall. I just feel like ghosting people is so disrespectful. But that's just maybe you feel the same way. I just think it's just blatant disrespect. Some of the red flags that we talked about that you can relate to, and again, please drop comments, add to this list. Here's just 4. If you hear an interviewee badmouth their current or previous job, attitude is everything, right? I tell this to my son all the time, and he rolls his eyes. It is what it is, right? But maybe it'll stick one day. But attitude is everything, and if they have a poor attitude about their current job situation, then how does that carry over into your shop? So that doesn't mean that maybe they are in a bad situation, but it's still an alarm to pay attention to this applicant to see whether or not they're a fit. The other one I already mentioned is I can do it all mentality. I wrote the book on mechanics and how I'm God's gift to wrenches. Watch out for those people, because a lot of times the smartest people in the room admit that they don't know everything, and so let's pay attention to that as well. This is a fun one that's kind of popping up in a little bit of some of the younger generations, asking for about PTO time or asking for time off before they're even hired. Now, of course, there's always exceptions, right? Maybe I'm making a change and my wife's going to have a baby next week, right? I mean, 2 things can line up, but a flag is a flag. It makes you slow down and pay closer attention. And if they're asking for about their PTO benefits before they're even hired, watch out. Do they even want to work? Zero follow-up or poor communication. So what happens after interview 1? Yes, I said that right. After interview 1, one of the things that we talked about was how often do we talk to these people before we actually hire them? How about you? What red flag has burnt you in the past? And what do you now look out every single time religiously without fail? What's your biggest red flag? All right. So we also talked about what's changing about the hiring process, how the hiring landscape has changed. In many markets, it's harder to even find qualified applicants. As everyone knows, there's a massive mechanic shortage. And sadly, there's a lot of shop owners that are lowering the bar, and that leads to all sorts of other issues. So don't do that. Slow down the process. Make sure that someone is going to be a right fit, not just for the job, but also for your shop. This might feel counterintuitive, but taking longer to hire actually saves you more time in the long run. So it's going to protect your team. It's going to protect your customers and your culture. I bet you so many of you can share stories of how you hired the wrong person, and inevitably their negative attitude grew like a cancer throughout the employee shop culture. And that's, you need to avoid that at all costs, of course. All right. Hiring people matters, but even the best techs can't work in your bays if your bays are empty. And that's the piece that, again, I help shop owners fix. At AA Shop Marketing, we're building campaigns that bring in the right customers, the right cars, week after week. And so if you're ready to get more proactive with your marketing, I'd be happy to chat with you. Just message me on here or directly, or go to aashopmarketing.com to learn more. But if your bays aren't empty and you still need more mechanics, what has changed about your hiring process in the last year, in the last 2 years, since COVID? What are you doing differently now? How are you filtering down the candidates now? All right, so let's wrap up today's live with a couple few key takeaways. Number one, red flags matter. They're a signal, an alarm. They're not necessarily a deal breaker. Often they are, but we can't ignore them just because you're short staffed. We got to pay attention. And as Jen put it, pay attention to your gut too. So the best hires are usually the ones that you slow down and filter properly. And Chris had a really good process in place that he described during this podcast. So again, go check that podcast out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We're talking about episode 17. Okay. What is one hiring lesson that you've learned the hard way? Again, I love stories. So if one of you can even just do a video clip or just type up the comments of a story that happened where you had to learn the hard way, or one red flag that you now spot instantly, drop it in the comments, please. We'll love to keep the conversation going all week long. And if you're someone that listens to this podcast because you're trying to grow the shop the right way, without gimmicks and without burnout, marketing should be part of that strategy. And I'm helping shops across this country get real results through Google, through social, through retention marketing. And if you want to see how that could work for your shop, head over to aashopmarketing.com, message me here. We'll start the conversation. And by the way, that's how I roll in those environments. I'm not a pressure person. I have a conversation. If I can help, I'm happy to do it. If you haven't listened yet, check out the Garage Grid Podcast, episode 17, From Interviews to Integration, Building Strong Teams in Auto Repair. It's available, as I said. Oh, wait, how about if you say it for me? Yes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Next Tuesday, all goes well, will be part 2 of the live stream series, and we're going to be talking about the onboarding process and how to set the right tone from day one. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you, or maybe you'll see me next Tuesday.